today we are going to make sauerkraut in the most old-fashioned way that I know how. And for that we're using a crock that I bought at a garage sale last year for $20. However, you can use any type of glass or ceramic type of crockery. Plastic is not recommended because it does not allow the natural gases to escape. So we are going to start by quartering our cabbages, which is not the easiest thing to do, but we're going to cut our ends out. We put our scraps in a bucket for our pigs and our chickens. Take off any outer leaves that might have any kind of blemishes on them. And again, these go in the chicken scrap bucket. Now, it is a matter of personal preference, but you can cut out the heart of the cabbage, which is going to be the hardest part to shred and you might not want to, or you can leave it in so that as you're slicing it, whether you're using a hand slicer, a knife, or food processor, so this is completely preference. But if you are going to cut the heart out, so much easier when you quarter it. Now, when you're making your sauerkraut, quartered is preferred. You can make it into smaller slices if that is what you prefer to work with. But definitely do not use a half or a whole cabbage. It does make it harder to slice up. And it does make it harder, like it just creates a longer day for you. So once you start shredding your cabbage, you want to throw it into your crock. And you're going to start with one layer. And then what you're going to do is unfortunately, I don't measure. This is just how I've always learned how to do things. So you have to measure this with your heart. Use pickling salt or kosher salt. Never use table or Himalayan or sea salt. It has to be pickling or kosher salt. And you're going to sprinkle that in there. You want a good layer. You want to go a couple of handfuls in. Now, it doesn't matter what you use. You can use anything. Wood is preferred. We're going to use a wooden rolling pin today. What you want to do is you want to start beating that. You have to pound it down, and what this does is this helps release the natural juices and lactobacillus that is naturally present in the cabbage, and it's going to start your fermenting process. This is very important, and this is probably the most time-consuming part of making sauerkraut, but it is your most necessary part. You want to make sure that you've got quite a good mess slop of cabbage and salt mixed in. If at any time during this point you feel like you want to add a little bit more salt, that is not a problem because it's better to have a little bit more than not enough. So once you feel happy with pounding down this layer and you've got a good layer of juice and salt mixed in, what you're going to do is you're going to add another layer of shredded cabbage. And you want just enough to cover that other layer you just pounded down. And we're going to add another couple handfuls of salt. Now, the trick to having good fermentation is having a proper amount of salt. And don't forget, if you think that you've added too much salt, you can always rinse it off later when you open your jars. So each layer you put in with salt, you're gonna keep pounding down, and again, you're just making that lactobacillus that's naturally in that cabbage come out and mix with that salt to help prevent molds and also start that fermentation process. So this is 3 layers in, and what you're looking for is this nice juice, and you're gonna hear that as you're smashing things down. This means you're getting all that liquid out of the cabbage, it's mixing with the salt, and you're starting your fermentation process. So as you're doing this, what you can do is you can keep adding in layers of cabbage. Try to do about 1 layer at a time, and you just wanna make sure that layer you've been beating is beaten down. And it's just covering that layer. And with each layer, you're gonna add a couple handfuls of salt. And pickling salt, don't forget, dissolves with and mixes with the cabbage juice to form lactobacillus acid, which is what your fermentation process requires. And just keep beating it. As long as you're seeing a lot of that liquid as you're beating everything down, that means you're well on your way to making your own homemade sauerkraut. So once you get all your cabbage done and you get it all in here, you just want to smack it down a little bit longer. Make sure the salt is getting right in there, you're getting all the juices out. And what you should see is a nice layer of juice just under that last layer of cabbage. Once you see that, you know you've added enough salt, and you can let your fermentation process to begin. Just give it one last final beat down. Now, if you're doing this in oak or a crock, what you can do is lay cabbage leaves on top of it, but it is not necessary. Now, if your crock comes like this and you have a little bit of hole in the top, all you need to do is take a small little saucer plate and flip it over the top. That's for allowing all the natural gases to vent themselves without allowing anything to get in. And as our sauerkraut starts to ferment, we will keep you updated on when it is ready. So I hope you all have fun, and I hope you've learned something, and leave something in the comments if you have any questions.